Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever it might be, wherever you happen to be. Hello, I'm PhotoJoseph. It is my channel, my new channel, the PhotoJoseph Live channel. If you are for some reason watching this on the other channel, which there appear to be about 8 of you hanging out there, get off there. You're in the wrong place. Scroll down, there's a link to the proper one where you don't have that big old text overlay because the live show has moved, and this is where the live show now is. So, greetings everybody. Let's get a quick little shout out in the comments on the proper show, the one on the PhotoJoseph Live channel. And let's make sure that y'all can hear me and see me well. Let's bring this thing up here and let's just see what we've got going on today. We've got JBS Films planning on purchasing this camera this week, so you're ready for that. That would be the BGH1, the topic of today's show. We've got a greetings from the Flying Dutchman. We've got a good night here in Germany. Very much looking forward to the stream. Well, me too. Welcome for joining us, Cyber Shadow 81. It's a very dark and mysterious name. Oh, look, Mr. Curtis is here. Oop, skip one rolled past just as I did there. Mr. Curtis Judd, you're all here. Thank you very much. All good, all good. And from Northern Ireland, people are rolling in from all over. Love it. Alrighty, everything is looking pretty good here. We've got a good data rate coming out of there. Interesting. So I'm using the, well, I actually can set this up. I did set this up. Let me see here. Web Presenter, here we go. I am using the web presenter for this. So this is my new encoder that I'm using for most things, just giving this a good go around. So it's a good solid 6 megabit, and yet YouTube is saying that's a little lower than recommended. Interesting. What does it want? And that is the high setting out of the Blackmagic encoder, which actually seems like it should be higher. Isn't it supposed to be higher? I'm gonna make sure that I've got this set to high because that is what it's supposed to be. I don't think I can change it midstream. Yeah, streaming. Oh, I can change it, and it's set to streaming high. Oh well, I guess we'll see what happens. Is that? Can someone confirm for me the Blackmagic Web Presenter HD is the high bitrate only 6 megabit? That's interesting. If you're wondering how this is happening, actually, this view right now, this is a composite, a super source composite, because if I just loaded this normally, you'd see an infinite loop mirroring things. So, which is what I'm actually seeing on my preview. Anyway. It's kind of cool, right? So there you go. All right, let's get back to just that screen. So what else do we have? Curtis is saying the ATEM is also 6 megabits, you believe. ATEM mini 6 megabit. I thought the high was higher than that. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to check, because you can modify these, right? Well, at least you can on the ATEM. Ooh, can I modify the default bit rates on the web presenter like you can on the ATEM? I don't know that you can because it's not software dependent. There's no XML file. Ooh, interesting. I wonder, okay, this is probably a really bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am going to change, let's see here. Let's go back to this view. Incidentally, if for some reason this is the first time you've ever been to one of these shows, they're always like this. It's a little bit chaotic, but we have some fun. We answer some questions and eventually we get to the point. Let's see here. Let me bring up that web presenter view again. I am going to change my settings to HyperDeck low, which is like 20 megabit or something. Let's just see what happens. Let's see. So I just changed that. It's cranking up. There we see the data rate climbing up, climbing up. YouTube now says excellent connection. 10 megabit, 11. Ooh, let's see what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have a feeling at some point it's going to stutter and drop. Oh, 12. It's holding around 12. Okay, so that is the HyperDeck low setting. Interesting. And I'm getting excellent connections everywhere. Maybe this is where we should be streaming. For those of you who might have been full screen, full HD before I made the switch, can you tell a difference in the quality? I'm very curious. This seems good. My cache is holding strong. This seems pretty reasonable. Let me know how it's looking for you, if it looks like it's any better. I'm going to pull off of this screen now. Let's go back to the normal view and let's bring the comments back up and let's see. So yeah, someone look that up for me. Let me know what's going on here. All right, back into the comments. Hola from Clovis. Hello from Austria. Love it. Ciao from Italy. You know, it's good. You know, a buddy of mine, I'm going to go back to that. A buddy of mine is getting ready to go to Italy for a job. And he's on a special, from here, from the US, and he's on a special flight out of Atlanta. That is I think he called it a COVID flight. Basically, every single person on the flight has to meet certain testing requirements. They have to get tested. some number of hours in advance. They get tested again when they get on the plane. And the whole thing is they don't have to quarantine when they get there. I didn't even know that Italy was doing quarantines, although it obviously makes sense, as they should. Yeah, really interesting. Travel is opening in strange and mysterious ways. Fascinating. Fascinating. Cyber Shadow says, YouTube's warnings are broken. You know, I'm not going to disagree. So now I'm getting a warning saying the current bitrate is higher than the recommended. Seriously. So let's see, is anybody saying whether it was looking good or bad? Let's see here. Raul says HyperDeck high is 45 to 70, medium 25, low is 12 to 20. Okay, so it grabbed the low end of 12. Streaming high is 6 to 9. Okay, so that makes sense then. Streaming high 6 to 9 because I'm only doing 1080p 30, so that would be on the lower end. Interesting. And saying the quality is just fine with both. Well, since I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to leave it at 12. I've got the bandwidth to support it. So let's just see what happens. And if it starts to stutter, at least I know that I can change the quality live, which I've had issues with before. So that's cool. We're just gonna leave it there. We're gonna see what happens. I trust you all will start shouting at me, and I've got a thing up here that tells me what's going on. So hopefully it will all look good. Okay, let's get through some more comments, and then let's jump into the meat of the show. ATEM usually shows high as 9, so that 9 would be 1080p 60 would be what it would be doing at 9. And like I said, I'm doing 1080p 30, so that makes sense. ATEM, well, okay, I think we've already covered why it's seeing the different settings. HyperDeck settings go higher, of course, yes, and we are definitely higher now. I don't want to, not going to go any higher than this. Let's not break things, shall we? Hello from New Zealand. Hello from Chicago. Love it. Look at this. It looks like it could actually be a question. And incidentally, folks, if you do have a question, an actual question, by all means, do tag me in front of it. Put @PhotoJoseph Live. Now you have to do the whole PhotoJoseph Live, and it'll show up on my screen, and it should autofill unless you're on mobile, because I don't think YouTube has fixed that yet. And that way I see it highlighted on my screen, and I know that that's a question for me. So we'll do that. But anyway, Reedith has a question or a statement. Trying to decide between BGH1 or Blackmagic 6i Pro for permanent installs in podcast studios, both can be remote controlled, but the Blackmagic seems like it works better with Blackmagic switchers. So yeah, straight up, that is an advantage for sure of the Blackmagic cameras if you're using the Blackmagic ATEM Mini switchers. So this is specifically the minis. And actually this is there's a good segue to this segue. Someone had asked in my comments about configuring the studio camera, the Blackmagic studio cameras with the ATEM Mini. Those don't work. So the Blackmagic studio cameras are the older generation. They're still being made, but they haven't been updated in a long time. I've got one. There's the Studio Mini or Micro or something like that. It's just a tiny little box camera. And then there's the same thing that's called the studio camera that is that camera, but on a big screen, on like a 12-inch display. It's really awesome for using the studio. It's meant to be tripod mounted and tethered. And you got a whole big ass screen to look at. Sweet, right? It's pretty cool. Both of those studio cameras have dual SDI, meaning that there's two-way SDI communication, which allows obviously the data to go from the camera to the switcher, but also for the switcher to communicate with the camera and tell it to, well, first of all, tell it when it's on air. So you get the tally light that comes up, and it tells it, allows you to control exposure and color balancing and all that cool stuff. Enter the ATEM Mini lineup. And as of, I don't remember what version of the ATEM, but I guess the ATEM Mini Pro, I think they added it, whatever. You gain the ability to control in the exact same way the BMPCC cameras, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. You have clearly camera picture goes from the camera to the switcher, but then from the switcher you can tell the camera to change exposure, change your iris, change your shutter angle, change your color balances, and so on. I don't think there's a tally light. I don't believe there's a tally light on those cameras. I could be wrong on that. I've never actually used one. Anyway, so you get that same benefit, but that's all over HDMI because HDMI is a two-way communication protocol, whereas SDI is a one-way. So you need two cables if you want to go to, anyway, you get the idea. Anyway, so all that said, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras are fantastic if you are using a ATEM Mini because you get the full control. So if you're considering between the two for that specific use, it's going to be pretty hard for me to convince you that the BGH1 is a better way to go. It does have other features that you might be interested in, but that is a big thing to consider. I mean, you got to admit that is a pretty slick feature that is unique to those cameras. So there you go. There is that. And Curtis says, my streams always look great. Why, thank you. Alonzo says, I confirm you can fly in a COVID-free flight. Funny thing is, we're in semi-lockdown, if that's funny at all. Yeah, well, sadly, it's not funny, is it? And looks like we might be heading that way again, given the current trend. But let's all keep our fingers crossed, shall we? I think we're all done with this. I just got booked for my first in-person event since this whole thing started in November. It's all tentative, but yeah, maybe I'll actually be, going somewhere. It's very exciting. So done with this. Remember that your viewers need bandwidth too. Yeah, but your bandwidth doesn't have any relevance on what I'm streaming. If I was streaming a gigabit, that wouldn't matter to you because on your end, you're getting whatever YouTube is feeding you. YouTube re-encodes everything and sends it down to you. So there's no... my bandwidth has no impact on your ability to view it. So just, yeah, keep that in mind. Okay. Curtis accidentally left the settings on HyperDeck high in your live stream on Sunday and it adapts seamlessly. For talking head, it never went above 20 megabit. Oh, that's interesting. And your YouTube can handle the 20 megabit, but you're streaming higher, aren't you? Aren't you doing a 4K stream? I think you are. I go live in Facebook using the Blackmagic 4K and the ATEM ISO. The stream is not too clear. What's the best settings to use? Well, did they finally go 1080? I abandoned Facebook ages ago because they went 720 or they were 720, and then they kind of went 1080 for like a week and then scrubbed the internet of all evidence of that. It was very odd. I think I've heard they went back to 1080 though. If the stream's not too clear, I mean, I haven't streamed to Facebook Live in a really long time, but often if it's not clear, then it's either too low of bandwidth or too high and you're choking Facebook. So I would say just check the Facebook settings, see what it wants, and then as somebody pasted into the chat here already, you could scroll up and find it or just look it up in the manual. The ATEM streaming settings for low, medium, and high have a very specific range that they work within, and just be within that range. That's really all I can tell you. Incidentally, I'd like to point out, I've been doing a lot of talking today. This is my 5th on-camera event today. It's been one of those mornings, starting at 7 a.m. bright and early, which is why I couldn't go live at my normal time. Blackmagic compatibility is all over the place. That's fair. Thinking about the BGH1 as an overhead cam for streams and educational videos. I think you will like what you see. All right, let's get into that real soon here. I'm just going to scroll down and look for anything with my name on it, and then we're going to jump into it. BGH1 or S1H if you already own an S1R. Yeah, I know, but I need to hear from someone else. They're so different cameras, man. I mean, if you're doing live, the BGH1 is killer for live. It's killer for live, and it's killer for anything that has anything to do with live. It's killer if you're going to remote mount the camera and you want to access it remotely, hence the remote mounting. But if you're doing cinema work, my God, why is this 18-wheeler? It's going to hit my car. Oh, good. There's this, I should set up a camera out here just to show you when this kind of crap happens. There's this warehouse across from me. And yeah, a year or so ago, they did some major reconstruction there and made it so that they're huge. This company that owns that warehouse, it's a chocolate company. They actually own another one over here. And at some point they decided to make this one the place where all their trucks go to deliver. And so there's this constant stream of big 18-wheelers that go through here, and it's a very tight corner, and they can make it. But occasionally they get stuck and they come pounding on everybody's doors to move their cars. And that's always fun because it's kind of like, it sounds like the police are here. It's one of those big bam, bam, bam. And you're like, what the do you want? Move your car. I'm busy. Anyway, so I always enjoy watching them squeeze by going, it made it. Anyway, shall we continue? We shall. All right, there's lots more stuff coming in. Nothing else with my name on it. So I am going to take this as an opportunity to... let's get rid of that, bring this back up, and allow me a moment here to set up, where'd the software go? I do need the software for the camera. Let's switch over to this and over to this. I gotta tell you, I love having the Stream Deck set up now. I've got all these cool shortcuts for the live show, and then I have launchers for just regular apps, like normal working stuff, instead of hitting the dock or typing it in, it's the button. It's kind of cool. I like it a lot. All right, let me actually start, before I show anything, let me start with a little bit of a chit chat of what the BGH1 is. And I'm just gonna move a couple things off my window here, of what the BGH1 is. That's probably a good place to start. So the BGH1 is LUMIX Micro Four Thirds box camera. It is the first box camera from Panasonic. I know I'm not looking at you. I'm moving things around. It's the first box camera in the Lumix lineup. And as a box camera, give me a second. I don't know why I didn't plan for this, but I probably should have grabbed one to show you physically, as well as showing you the interface, which is obviously what the whole plan is. So this is one of them. You can see size-wise. Let's tighten that monitor on there. Size-wise here, it's a little boxy box. This monitor is mounted on top of it because this does not have its own monitor. God, you know, I'm gonna tighten this thing. I hope that doesn't fall over anymore. I think I need a screwdriver. No screen on it. It is just the camera here. So there's the box. It's got the battery hanging off the back here. This is a big old 50 to 200 millimeter lens on here. But if I take off said lens and I take off the battery, I don't have a body cap handy here. That would have been smart. And I take off this HDMI port and I take off I'm going to try really hard not to put my finger on the sensor. Take off the monitor. There we go. Settle this down. This is what we're left with. It's a little thing. It's a nice little thing. There you go. You can see just the size of that. It's yeah, it's mini. So you've got mounting points all around it, tons of mounting points, which is obviously very, very handy. Bunch of quarter 20s. You've got your command dial on the top. A bunch of, see, where are they? A bunch of programmable function buttons, so you can kind of, you know, program a lot of these to do what you want them to do. There's quite a few on the front, actually. There's 4 of them on the front. Get that into the light. There you go. There's 4 of them on the front. Well, I guess 3. One of them is the power button. And then there's a ton of ports, which is super awesome. Let me just try to open all of these at once here. See if that's going to work. You've got on here, again, into the light. There we go. You've got an Ethernet port. Let's see, there's a headphone and a microphone port. This little guy down here is a really cool little cable lock mechanism. It just comes with this, basically a piece of plastic that kind of snaps into there and that you can put your cables in and they kind of wrap around and cinch up just so that there's no tension on the cables. Because you can plug a lot of stuff into this, and so then all your cables can not be pulling on the ports. They'll have a little tension thing. It's just one of those little touches that you go, oh, that's actually really nice. Okay, and then the other side, there we go. The other side has, let's see, can I get it so you can actually read? The light's kind of the wrong way for that, isn't it? If I flip it upside down, will that help? I obviously did not. Nope, that doesn't help. I obviously didn't plan for this part of it. Anyway, there's 3 ports on there, 3 SDI type ports. There is an SDI output. That's, you know, the camera feed. There is the timecode out, in or out. So you can bring timecode in, which is great. So a dedicated proper timecode port. And then there's a Genlock port on there as well. So you can go full super accurate sync if you need to. And then there is also, let's see here, get the light on there again. Ooh, that's gonna be tough because it's kind of buried in there. It's right there by my pinky, but there is a full-size HDMI port type A and a USB-C port. So I believe that covers all of the ports on it. I'm gonna put this lens back on before I get this sensor too dirty. And I think that's everything that you need to know physically about it. Oh, dual SD, one additional letter in there. Dual SD card slots, there's a little door right there for that. And there's a remote cable port on there. That pretty much covers it. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers the physical aspects of it. So that's the camera. The idea behind this camera is, well, actually, let's talk a little bit about the sensor inside. So like I said, it's micro four thirds. It's actually the same sensor that's in the GH5S. It has been tuned slightly differently. So this camera has a V-Log-L built into it. It is a slightly different V-Log-L than what is in the GH5 and the GH5S. The GH5 and GH5S, even though they're different sensors, they were tuned to look identical so that people who owned a GH5 but a GH5S as a companion camera got the same look out of the camera. This camera was not designed necessarily to match that. This is actually designed to match the newer generations of cameras. This will match the S1H as far as the look goes. Even though it's V-Log-L, the look of it that comes out is designed to match that. It's obviously not going to be perfectly identical because they are quite different cameras, but that's what it's tuned towards. So it's a very slightly different variation of V-Log-L. You could almost call it like a V-Log-L extra, Vlog L more plus or something like that. It just gives you a little bit more. I think you get a little bit more dynamic range out of it than you have off the GH5S. And even though it's the same sensor, it's just the way that it's tuned. So pretty slick. Anyway, so the camera does obviously 4K and all this good stuff, 4K 60, yada, yada. You can do, now with the new update that's coming, you'll be able to get raw output out of it, which is pretty slick. Some interesting things about the output here. It's HDMI out can do, well, even all the way up to raw, but it can do full 4K 60 into a Blackmagic or Blackmagic or a Atomos recorder. You can do ProRes RAW into a Ninja 5. You can, you do your full gamut of frame rates and sizes out over HDMI. It also has an SDI output, but the SDI is actually limited to 1080p. So you're only getting 1080 on the SDI out, but you have two simultaneous outputs, and you can actually control what goes out of those independently. So this is where things start to get really interesting for any kind of a live streaming setup. So you can output one flavor and record internally another, and output on the other output another flavor. So basically, like the way I have mine configured, this camera right here, which is what it is, the way I have this configured right now is the camera is set to 4K 30 with Vlog L, is set to Vlog. The HDMI output is full 4K 30 with no LUT applied. So can I? No, I can't route that into here. I have that output routed into a Blackmagic HDMI capture card that's in my Mac Pro so that I can capture effectively from this camera directly. I can capture straight to hard drive in ProRes in log. So that's that configuration. What you're looking at right now is the 1080p SDI output, which has the LUT enabled. So the HDMI out has no LUT, the SDI out has the LUT. So that's coming in through there, which is pretty cool. And then that goes, since it's SDI, that has to get converted to HDMI to go into the Blackmagic, into the A10 Mini. So I can't pull it up into camera range, the cables aren't long enough, but I got one of those little Blackmagic SDI to HDMI 3G adapters, and that converts the SDI into HDMI. So that's how that's configured into here. So that way I have the camera set up for one way for everything. And then, let's see here. So any kind of webcam stuff that I do, like a Zoom call or whatever, that's the routing. It's coming through the A10 Mini. That's because that's just, it's here and that's how that's set up. But the BGH1 also has the USB-C output, which you can connect, and I actually do have it connected. And you can then use the webcam software feature, which enables this camera as a webcam over USB. So you have all these different ways that you can get the signal in, which is pretty cool. So that's all kind of a, obviously there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of an internal, technically what it's doing, technical aspect of it, along with the outputs, and that's all, handy dandy great. Now we get into the part that's really fun that I get to show you. So the camera, as you saw, has no monitor on it. If you hook up a monitor like this Atomos one, or quick shout out here, I wanted to get it configured before the show, but I just did not have time. It just arrived yesterday. This is a monitor from a company called Portkeys. They just sent this out. This particular model is the LH5P. There we go. 1700 nit. Supposedly, that's HDR realm, so it should be HDR previewing. I haven't tried it yet. But here's the cool thing. Apparently, I haven't tried it. Here's the monitor. It comes in a nice little case. Nice that. Apparently, this little monitor will allow you to touch control the BGH1, specifically for the BGH1, just like you're used to doing on the mounted LCD on your GH5 or S1H or whatever. This is a touchscreen monitor. The menu comes up. You're supposed to be able to touch the controls on here. Have not tried it. I think for this monitor, they have a monitor that's promoted for that. I'm pretty sure this one is not promoted for that, but the company I'm working with them directly, they're like, oh, well, we already shipped this one to you, and actually that does it too. Okay, so I gotta try it. So hopefully by the next show, I will have that up and running. But that's really interesting because since you don't have a display on it, an LCD on the camera directly, that clearly can be an inconvenience, right? I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to this. The advantage being it's smaller. You can put this thing anywhere. And, if I take a GH5 and I shove it into the corner of a room, how in the heck am I getting to the menus, right? And I have a GH5S that I have kind of in a permanent location for a particular set, and it's backed up against the wall. And obviously the LCD flips out, but it's still like reaching to the buttons behind it. It's very difficult. I really want to swap that camera out with one of these BGH1s. Because the BGH1 doesn't have the controls on an LCD, because it doesn't have an LCD, you're meant to control it all through software, which is what I'm going to show you in a moment here. However, because of companies like these guys coming out with this clever monitor, theoretically, again, haven't tried it, supposedly it works, you can actually control the camera from the monitor, which you could do anywhere. You could set it up on the side or, you know, some distance away, because just run a long cable to it. It's pretty neat. So I'm excited about that. I think that's pretty cool. So like right now, when I talk to you guys, I've got an old Ninja. This is like my very first Ninja monitor here. It's just being a dumb monitor, but obviously I could use any, you know, 5-inch or 7-inch monitor here. It's kind of my confidence monitor that I can see. I have it set to show me the program, so I know what's on air right now. But instead I could route it to just take the feed off the camera directly and then access the menus right here. So I'd actually have the menu controls, which, you know, kind of cool, right? So I'm looking forward to playing with that. But take that away and you go, well, wait, how am I supposed to control the camera? Well, that is where the software comes in. So this is what we're going to do now. I'm going to kind of reveal this. I'm going to close a couple things, and we're going to start with just the controls. And actually, before we do that, let me jump into the comments because a ton of stuff is flying by here. And let's bring this back up. And let's see here. Where are we? Scrolling down. Curtis says, for autofocus, I'm thinking the BGH1 may have some advantages over the Pocket 6K Pro. I do think you're right. I'm not one to throw stones at autofocus, because we all know that the Lumix cameras don't have the greatest history of being the best in autofocus in the world. Yeah, I know. So, but Blackmagic cameras are really worse. Sorry, they just are. So you might have noticed, you've seen a little bit of autofocus dancing happening here. This is the BGH1 in autofocus mode. So that gives you an idea. There's no special custom settings. It's just on right now. So for this kind of test, this kind of thing, it seems to work out quite well, I think. Let me see if I go all the way back here. I'm kind of in the dark. Well, not really. It's on face detection. It should be picking me up. I don't know. I couldn't even tell because it's too far away from me. But now I'm looking at it. I see that's definitely sharp, and you know, it helps if I put light on it. There we go. That's sharp. There we go. So, you know, that's pretty good. So that's the BGH1. That is its actual autofocus. And for anybody who's been watching the show for the last month, I think 3 or 4 weeks that I hooked up the BGH1 here, if you've noticed, I've been taking advantage of the autofocus, doing things like that. That's all the BGH1. So, you know, it is what it is. So there you go. So Curtis, yeah, it's there. It is there. All right, let's see here. Typical YouTube. Crystal Eye says, good thing your other channel notifications are still working. I can't seem to be able to turn on all the notifications on this channel. Oh, you can't turn them on? That's interesting. Are you not able to? Can somebody please confirm that? This channel, the PhotoJoseph Live one, check out can you enable notifications? I wonder if that's something that I don't get until it has more followers. I don't know. It's obviously still a very new channel. Okay. Alrighty. Hey, Tommy got a Stream Deck today. Good for you, man. You ordered one. It's so cool. It is so cool. I love this thing. I can't believe it took me this long to get this stupid little box. It is awesome. Where'd you find one in stock? Adorama, he says. There you go. I don't know why I'm scrolling through these. It's just kind of fun. Where did I get mine? Best Buy. Best Buy was the only one that had it in stock, and I ordered it on like a Friday. I could have gone up to pick it up, but it's hour round trip. I didn't want to do it. Ended up coming like 2 days later, even though they said it was going to be longer. So yeah, check Best Buy. I mean, I got mine a couple months ago, so who knows? Anyway, okay. Moving on, what lens are you using on the BGH1? This is the Panasonic Lumix 12-35 f2.8, the original one, the Mark I, not the Mark II. So this is the 12-35 f2.8. I find it perfect for this, and it is at f4 right now, so it's not wide open. Where are we? Tommy says, it does let you control the GH5, but the controls are terrible. The interface is awful. I think you are talking about the iOS software, but I'm going to show you desktop software. That's what I'm going to show you. How is the fan in terms of making noise at close range? Oh, I've never heard it. Meter from the okay, my mic is here, and the camera is here. If I reach out anymore, I will touch the screen. So there's no noise. I hear a hard drive and the truck outside. I hear nothing. I've never heard a peep from this camera. Not a peep. Not a one. Ooh, Motherby says, I ordered that, but I returned it because it was unresponsive when you touch it. I'm going to assume you're talking about that monitor. Well, that would be sad. Hopefully, you got a bum one, and mine will be better than that, but I don't know. I don't know. Cyber Shadow says to Chris Lai, I had the same problem. Just unsubscribe and subscribe again to activate the bell. Aha. Thank you for that tip, Cyber Shadow. I do appreciate it. Anybody who can't get notifications enabled, unsub, resub, and there we go. How can I power the BGH1 with a V, or how can I with a V-mount battery? Okay, so with a V-mount, you would go through a D-tap into the camera. So the camera's got a power port. I guess that's one port I didn't show you, did I? Where is it? Where's the power port on this thing? Oh, there it is. Oh, I just took the door off. There's, jeez, can't see anything. Yeah, DC in 12 volt. I guess I did not show that. It's right next to the, I guess what I could do is, here, hold on. I've got this light sitting here. Let's turn the light on. And light. Activate. Whoa, that's bright. Ooh, let me turn that down. Hold on. Hold on. Let's take that way down. Let's see if that's, if I do this and I do that. There we go. That should, let me try and find kind of, sort of. Can you see it? Can you see it? You get the idea. It's a D-tap battery. What else do you want? So you would power through there. It comes with, the camera comes with a power supply to plug into this. It actually does not come with a battery because I think most people are using it likely without. I don't know. It just doesn't come with a battery. But it's also not one of the insert batteries. It is the generic, this is a, it's not the Sony ones. I have no idea. Here, just look at that. This is the battery that I got to go with it. There we go. That's the battery that I got for it. These are totally common batteries. And then I like these because it has a little status light on it. So you get that in. Okay, you can focus. There we go. I just told everybody that you can focus. Do it. There we go. So I like that. That's kind of a nice little feature. So I got a couple of these batteries. It's cheap. So yeah, so that's the battery. So off of a V mount, you'd have to go from the V mount into that D-tap. And so the battery, you probably have to get your own cable, but this is a totally generic universal style cable. So you just get the right combination of the right size and barrel and voltage out of the battery. And there you go. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, let's get this thing showing here. Let me turn this off and I need to go here. There we go. Aha, look, and I get to use my little widget. I'm gonna move my widget over to the other, whoops. I'm gonna move my widget to the other side. There we go, ha, cool. Okay, so this is the interface. It is a simple control surface to start with. You have, this is all you need. From this you can trigger the camera, you can change aperture. So, you know, if I do this, you're gonna see the picture in the corner there get a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. Back to 4 here, let's do it like the other way. I don't know why I'm doing that. You know what it looks like if you change the aperture, just to show you that it actually does it. Great, where was I? F4? I think that's right. Custom settings, so you can access your custom settings, which is how I do most of the switching between modes, although ideally it's set up so I don't ever have to. But, you know, if I switch over to C2, it's going to load up a totally different profile and so on. So that's all set up in there. You can access your white balance ISO. So just your basic controls you can control all from here. Now, you can also, it's kind of funny, this camera is, without a doubt, is designed as a video or cinema camera, not as a still camera, but it can take still pictures. You don't have to, but you kind of need to set it up through here to do it. So in a studio setup, I could do this and I could switch it into photo mode and I could take pictures of it, but you know, who cares? You have a settings page. Oops, you have a settings page here. If you are shooting stills, what happens to them, where they go, the imported file names and all this stuff. This is similar to the LUMIX Tether interface. It's actually the same interface, but there's more features to it. This is LUMIX Tether for multicam specifically. Now, if I look at the camera button, this shows me a list of the cameras. I obviously only have the one connected, this one sitting right here. But since this thing is connectable over Ethernet, oh, and which, by the way, how cool is this? You can power it over Ethernet. If you have PoE+, it has to be PoE+. I only have a PoE switch. I don't have a PoE+ switch. I got to get a new PoE+ switch so I can power this directly. But then it's that one Ethernet cable to run it through. That's really cool. That is very, very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. Haven't been able to take advantage of it yet, but I like that a lot. Oh, I guess I changed. It's not supposed to go. It's supposed to change sides. I guess I gotta mess up with my macro a little bit more. Anyway, so from here, I can sleep the camera. If I click this button right here, it will sleep the camera. I'm not going to do that for obvious reasons, but that will sleep the camera. And you can individually control cameras, turn them on or off from here. And you can control, I forgot how many, but it's quite a lot of the cameras up here. I'm not gonna say how many because I don't remember what it is, but you can control a bunch of the cameras up here at once. Click on the LV, the live view button, and this is where things get really interesting. So this is where we get all kinds of fun control. So let's see here. I guess I will, are these in sync? They are. Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. So you are clearly looking at a log view in here because I don't have the LUT enabled for this view. But this allows me, with the mouse, using my old mouse here, I can go into the menu and I can access the menus in here. This right here is the coolest thing. So instead of having to tap on a little tiny little buttony things all over the place, I can just click on them on here and control the camera. This alone is insanely awesome. I want this on every camera forevermore. I think every camera needs an Ethernet jack on it. That's just, I'm saying that right now. My line in the sand. I want an Ethernet jack on every camera. You know, Marquez Brownlee says USB-C all the things. I'm going to say Ethernet all the things. That's my new catchphrase. Anyway, so you've got your standard menu system, right? So we go into the mode, the cinema mode, and you've got your various custom modes that you can choose. You can rename the custom modes, which is why these look the way they do. You can, let's see if I can find this. If I go to here, there we go, custom mode settings, you can have a lot. You can have up to 12 custom modes set up in here, and each one of those can be named. So again, you know, I had it set at 3 or whatever it was set at. Let's back out of here. It's funny, you do have to treat the interface like a touch interface. You have to tap on the right things. It's obviously what it is. But see, I can edit the titles of any one of these modes, which is really, really cool. So then obviously you know exactly what you're switching to when you set it up. So that, like those little things, I love it. I think that's just so, so great. Let's see here. What else do we want to look at in here? So things like the LUT settings, if I go into, let's see, the right modes, I'm going to totally forget where everything is because that's what happens when you're live. You can't remember where anything is. I think it was back here, actually. Yeah, I swear. You can load the LUT through here, obviously, just like with the other cameras. I'm not going to try and find it because I'll look like an idiot. Here's a cool difference. So I want to show you the things that are unique about the BGH1. HDMI and SDI connections. So the overlay, right, the menu overlay that you would normally see on the back of the LCD, this is an interesting thing. When you first get the camera, you first plug it in and turn it on. How do you control anything? So there's one of the main buttons on the camera will cycle through, like the display button, basically will cycle through the displays. You can control all that in software as well. So like I can control, first of all, the SDI output itself, I can turn on or off. Again, that's what we're using here, so I'm not going to turn that off. The LUT assist, so like the LUT assist on HDMI, do I want that on or off? I have it off because, like I said, I'm sending the unLUTed version of the signal in full 4K directly into my Mac Pro. But on SDI, LUT View Assist is enabled. And then from here, change the LUT. So let's see if I go down to this. Oh, background color, it's no big deal. So there's your differences in the two in there, which is super, super interesting. Here's that info display. So which display is going to get info? So if I set this to SDI, I'll turn it on. Let's see if I can turn that on and then exit the menu. Yeah, so now if I go back to the normal view, there we go. So now we've got the full display, like what you would see on the back of the LCD. This is something we have on the other cameras as well. Of course, you can control whether you get this display on the HDMI output, but here you have it for you toggle or cycle between nothing, SDI out, or HDMI out, and then back to nothing again. So you have that option in there. Okay, let's go back to this. And I'm really annoyed now that that is always popping to the left. I'm going to have to figure out how to fix that. Okay, now I got to turn this thing off. There's also a button. Like I said, let me actually do this. Let me get out of here. There is a button on the camera, so I can, if I hit that, find the right one. There it is. There we go. It cycles now. That's off. And if I hit it again, it's now cycled to the HDMI. Hit it again, it goes to nothing, and then hit it again, it comes back to here. So we cycle to where it should be. There we go. So there's your control on that. So if you are just using one monitor, even if you're using one monitor to record you can still cycle through to get that menu up there and then turn it off before you start recording. Don't forget to turn it off before you start recording because that's baked into the signal. You don't want to do that. I did that once. That was a bad day. Let's see here. What else is in the menu that I want to show you? So let's see here. Exposure mode, sensitivity. It is dual native ISO. So that's excellent thing to know. It's not the right place. Here we go. Dual native ISO setting. So auto or low or high. I've got it set to high here. So dual native ISO on there. Oh, I know something I'm going to show, the white balance, because that's really, really cool. Synchro scan, you have synchro scan in here, so you can get those really accurate frame rates that you need. Record qualities, let's just take a look at what these are. Just like the S1H, you have filtering, so you can say only show me 2997 frame rates in 4K, or I can say, you know, only show me whatever. Let's say show me any and any. So let's undo the filtering. And then you'll see you have tons and tons of options in here. The top of the list here being 4K anamorphic 60p 4208 long GOP. So that's your, you know, your highest kind of internal, well, biggest internal. Your highest internal would be, I guess, this one here. Yeah, 4K anamorphic 30p at, oh, I don't want to change that. Oh, God, that's going to mess things up. Oh, it didn't. 4K 30, 422, 10-bit intra. Anyway, all intra, you get the idea. You have all these here. So let's see, let me go back to the setting that I had, which would be 2997, and I want my straight 4K, and then my setting was this one here, 4K 30, 422, 10, all I. That's internal recording. And I'm not really recording internally. I'm usually recording externally, but there you go. Time code, gen lock, all the good stuff in here. Oh, this one has, I've got the XLR1 attached to mine so that my microphone here can now route through the XLR1 straight into the camera. So that's how that is set up. So you've got your options in there for that. And stabilization, what else do I want to show in here? I guess those are the main big kind of unique things that I wanted to show you. I'm probably forgetting something. Let me show you the white balance though, because this is pretty cool. I did not bring a white balance card. Well, anyway, when you do white balance, okay, we're going to totally do this. I don't want to mess up my white balance. Oh no, I can. I'll go back. So normally, you know, you to go into white balance mode, you got to hold up the thing and you got to run in front of it and hold the card up there. I can go to white set, and then, oh, this is going to work like this. And then I can click on the screen to do the white balance setting. I love that. I love that feature. You can set the white balance from the software interface. It seems like a little thing, but it's massive. I love this. Okay, I'm very excited about the little things. Anyway, and then you have a whole live streaming directly from the camera, which I have the beta version of installed, and I have actually not fired it up yet, so I probably should do that at some point. But you can live stream. So let's go ahead and get out of here now. You can live stream directly from this camera. So it's just IP streaming directly from it. So that in itself is another really slick feature that I haven't played with yet, but is in there. That was announced recently, shipping in a update coming April 12th, if I remember correctly. So there's kind of a little overview of that. Let me jump back into the comments and see if anybody's asking anything specific, and we'll see what if we can answer these. It is pretty cool. It's a really cool camera. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. Bring that up, and Mr. Shark says, I still prefer my GH5 and GH5S than the BGH1. It's got no EVF, right? No advantage over a GH5, GH5S. Well, depends on what you're doing with it now, doesn't it? Waiting for the GH6, and Panasonic have announced that it's coming soon. Okay, you're so into it. You sent me an email. That was not an announcement of a GH6. All that announcement said was we are working on Micro Four Thirds. So I know you're very excited. You are so looking for that announcement in there. That's not there, but that was not a GH6 announcement. That was we are continuing to work on Micro Four Thirds. So believe me, if there's something to tell you, I'll tell you about it. The app menu looks super helpful for live when the camera's not easy to reach. Either there's a main camera overhead or anything else. Absolutely. And this is why, like, my main setup for shooting out in the other room is it's a kind of a mishmash for like a couple GH5s and a G9 and whatever. It's a bunch of stuff. I want all of them to be BGH1s now. It's so cool. It's such a great configuration. I want them all to be that way. Being able to access all of them from here, and being able to access multiple cameras. You just go to that little menu on here. You know, you just go to this thing and you click on whichever camera is listed here, and it loads up that in the interface here. that's really, really cool. You know, it just gives you this really simple, easy way to access all these cameras from one location, and it's all network based. So you could be, you know, in another part of the office building, controlling all the cameras. It's pretty slick, or behind a sound wall, and it's cool. I like it a lot. Let's see here. What else we got? Mr. Fenwick, yo, good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you here. Do a great job. Like Footage is pretty smart. He's pretty smart. Fen, you know, whenever you call me smart, you know how I react to that. Let's see. All right. Now they're having a conversation about Final Cut. Curtis, you using Final Cut? I love it. Listen to every episode of the Final Cut Grill. Super duper. Okay. All right. Moving on. And let's see here. I'm still looking for, well, nothing else with my name on it. So I guess y'all are having conversations amongst yourselves now, which is perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. All right. Well, is there anything else I wanted to show? That was kind of the main stuff. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything really slick and cool about it. I think I got the main dealies in there that I wanted to talk about. So yeah. If there's any other last minute questions, toss them in there. You can ask anything. It doesn't just have to be about the BGH1. Actually, I'm actually going to scroll up in the comments to make sure I didn't miss anything important. Oh, Jason said, oh, hey, Jason, hang that Stream Deck on a Raspberry Pi instead of your PC. Life-changing. Interesting. Interesting. I'm quite happy with it the way it is here. Well, I can't because I'm running the, what do you call it, Companion, and Companion needs to be run on your computer. Maybe it can run on a Raspberry Pi. I don't actually know. Needs to be run on the same computer that Stream Deck is connected to, or the Stream Deck needs to be connected to that computer. Let's put it that way. So unless the Raspberry Pi can run Companion, I couldn't. But also, I use Stream Deck to launch just as an app launcher when I'm not using it for live streaming, because you know I got this big old box on my desk. May as well do something with it. So I've got all my apps there. And like if I'm doing a series of demos for a client right now. Can't tell you what. And I have a very specific series of apps that I need to use. And so I've got kind of a setup where it will, you know, obviously I have app launchers to launch the buttons. I have a button to launch the display settings for the Mac. So I just, you know, one touch to get into that so I can change the resolution of my screen. One touch to open the folder that I move all the junk of my desktop off of so that it's not on the desktop. You know, there's all these little like things. AppleScript, this made me so happy. Here, check this out. You might have seen on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, a while ago, I was very unhappy, and I'm still not thrilled with this, but very unhappy that in macOS Big Sur, they removed the ability to option click, it was option click on the clock in the menu bar to toggle it from digital to analog. Right? I use this all the time. When I'm doing a demo, a recorded demo, I can't have that clock have the real time on it because you know, I'm editing and it's like the time is changing. It jumped 2 minutes. It went back a minute. Like that's not okay. So, pardon me. So I would always switch it to analog. No one notices if the minute hand moves on that thing. It's like a tiny microscopic clock. But they took that ability away. So I have to go into the settings. Go click, 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 like 5 clicks deep to change it. Super annoying. I was trying to figure out how to AppleScript it. Couldn't figure it out. And then I found an article where someone did figure it out. So I've got an AppleScript that changes it. And so while I don't have a camera on the, what do you call it, the Stream Deck, trust me, I've got a button on there that triggers an AppleScript, but that allows me to, now I guess I have to do this. Oh boy, we got all like 15 different ways to go. So here we go to here. All right. And now let me switch back to this view. There we go. So I've got a button I push, watch in the top right corner. Date and time normal. Hit it again. Analog clock. Woot woot. So super, super awesome. Love that. It's the little things in life, my friends. It is the little things in life. Anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that I use the Stream Deck for, which is pretty slick. Now I got to get back to the right page for the show, and there we go. So, I like it. I like it a lot. Hey, if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe. See, that's a button on the Stream Deck. It triggers an animation that's on, in Mimo Live. That's where that's coming from. So I just push a button. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hit the bell. You know what to do. Hit the thumbs up, share the show, etc., etc., etc. Someday I'll have to take you through the full opening sequence that is built into Companion triggered via the Stream Deck, because it does so much across so many different pieces of hardware now. It's so cool and slick. Love it. But we'll do that on another show. Okay. Anything else in the comments? Otherwise, I am out here. There are some more things in the comments. Here we go. Let's bring this back up and Paul Young, quick question about manual focus mode on autofocus lenses. Okay, I had a shot ruined. When using an Atomos with -5, the focus box popped up on the Atomos even with display info off. That is a specific setting in the camera to enable the, I forget what it's called now, that pop-up focus, that zoom info, I forget what it's called exactly, but to enable that or disable that over HDMI out. It's clearly the kind of thing you want to be able to control. You obviously never want that to happen when you're recording, and you do want it to be able to happen if you're not recording, if you're just using the external monitor as a monitor, so you get that super close critical focus. So that is a setting in the camera. You can set that on or off. If you are, let me think about this. If you have enabled, I might get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is accurate. If you have enabled in your cameras, did you say which one? The S5, yeah. Yeah, I think the S5 is the same as the GH5. So if you have enabled recording triggering control, which basically means that you have to turn on timecode. You have to enable timecode, even if you're not using internal timecode. You have to enable timecode, and then you can start and stop recording on your external recorder from the camera. So you hit the record button on the camera, and it sends over HDMI, it sends a signal to the recorder to start recording. The camera then knows that it's in recording mode. You don't actually even have to have a card in the camera, but depending on your shooting mode, you can. Anyway, so the camera knows that it's in recording mode. It then knows not to send out that punch in when you do manual focus, but you can enable and disable that manually as well. So sorry to hear you messed up a shot. That's why it is sadly how a lot of learning is done, isn't it? This is from Klaus, are there any plans to release a video-centric camera without an EVF? Well, that's what the BGH1 is. It is a video-centric camera without an EVF. So there you go. Yes, there is a plan. It's already been fulfilled. It is called the BGH1. I hope you enjoy it. Sheila says, can the camera be turned on via software interface? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The BGH1. Absolutely. That was the whole thing here. So if I go in here and I click this button, it technically puts it to sleep. It's not a full power down. It puts it to sleep, but yes. And then I can power it back on with that. So I'm not going to. Actually, I could. Oh, yeah, I can do this. So let me do it. I just realized the flaw in this plan. You're probably not hearing me. Oh, maybe you do hear me. Interesting. I forgot when I turned it off, the audio would go away. Let's see, is the audio, yeah, the audio is coming through. What is that mush? Oh, whoops, that was me. That's funny. I totally forgot that the microphone is routed through the camera. So as soon as I turned it off, it turned off the audio as well. Whatever. Anyway, we're back now. And then I turned it back on and had to wait for it to wake up. Anyway, there we go. So that's doing its thing. Okay, so there you go. There's the answer to that question. Y'all can hear me, right? Yes. Whew. That's one of those, I shouldn't do this. I'll do it anyway. Oh, right. That's why I shouldn't do this. You know, never trust me with a live show. Shark says, if I did not own a GH5 and GH5S, then I would see a BGH1 as an advantage. Fair enough. Panasonic should have included built-in ND filters, then it would have been interesting. Yeah, physical ND filters, there's not enough room in this box. That I can tell you. Digital ND, yeah, fair. That would not be a bad feature to have on there. That is fair. Let's see how. Alonso, direct streaming will be really cool. One more feature I'd like the BGH1 to have, NDI compatibility. Here's the thing about Lumix cameras. We know already from experience with basically every Lumix camera ever shipped, at least every Pro one, updates come and add features. So you never know what could happen. And I have absolutely no idea if that's technically possible. I know NDI is a licensed thing. So I would guess, and I am completely speculating here, but I would guess if NDI were ever to be added, it might be a paid feature just because the NDI license costs money. So that could be, but you know, what do I know? How did the BGH1 get approved by Netflix compared to the GH5S? It's, Matt's not here in the chat. He knows the answer to this. It is, what is it? It's not RAW. It's not the RAW capability. Oh, darn it. It's some very specific thing. No, I don't remember what it is. It needs to be vlog, it needs to be 4K. All eye. Maybe it's all eye. No, that wouldn't be it because you can do all eye on external. Sorry. Let me text Matt. I'm going to text him right now and see if he gets back to me in time. But that's a question that has a very good answer, and I don't remember what it is. Live now. Tell me again. What about BGH1? Oops, BGH1 made it Netflix approved. Netflix approved. Okay, let's see if we get an answer. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, that's pretty slick, right? The S1H is Netflix approved, and now the BGH1 is Netflix approved. And apparently it's not something you see on their website, but it's one of those like you ask and yeah, it turns out it is approved. Not quite sure why that is, but anyway, whatever. Okay. Sony FX3 is also a cinema-centric camera with no EVF. Yes, it is. There's lots of so many cinema. I mean, the whole red lineup don't have EVFs, right? None of the red cameras have EVFs. So there's that. Did you say that an update will allow for RAW recording without HDMI out? No. It's the BGH1's update, the one that's coming in April 12th, I think it is, will enable RAW, ProRes RAW over HDMI. So it's RAW output over HDMI configured for the Ninja 5 to get ProRes RAW into the Ninja 5. That's what that is. No, it's not RAW internal. No. Okay, I believe that is the last one. Let us call that a day. Hey, everybody. Thanks again, as always, for being here. Thank you again for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell. Super awesome to have you here, as always. Love this. This was fun. It was kind of fun to dive into the camera there. I've really genuinely been super excited about this. I am working with Panasonic on a whole series about these, like we released on the S5 not that long ago, just I guess it was last month or so that series got released. We are working on one for the BGH1 as well, so you'll be able to watch that at some point in the pseudo nearest future. It's a really cool camera. It's slick. I'm digging it, as you can see here. And that's why I put it up here, because I wanted to get more hands-on time with it for doing these videos. And now that it's in here, I'm like, I'm not taking this down. This is really cool. This is good. Yeah, this is good. All right, that's it. Thanks a bunch, everybody. Super good to see you all, as always. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you all at the next live show, which sometime next week. We'll see. Take care. Bye-bye.